Charlotte Soccer Show, John Hayes, Danny Brams. We're here on a Sunday. Danny Brams, you're in the QC. I am in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. It's great to see you, Danny. After that performance on Saturday night, I just had to get on a flight and get the hell out of town.
Yeah. We thought our next drink, after the match would be a hooligan celebrating a big famous win. Instead, we're having it remotely over the internet here.
Cheers.
What you drinking? A little Heineken in the hotel?
Yeah, a little Heineken bottle.
I'm finishing off a bottle of Malbec that I started the other night and have been drinking from the bottle, just kind of sipping, just some good old-fashioned sipping wine, if you will. And Lord knows I need it because, man, what a weird day. What a weird result and just a strange night at Bank of America Stadium. After all the hype and the buildup and like waking up on Saturday and feeling like I was going to spontaneously combust in the morning, felt very different this morning. And I just want to – it sort of goes back to something I said in our preseason coverage this year, which is that last year Charlotte FC couldn't hurt me. Like no matter what happened, they couldn't hurt me because they were new. It was a honeymoon phase. But I'm hurting today. I'm hurting bad because expectations, man. Expectations poison relationships. I say it all the time. And, man, like I expected a lot more last night.
The difficult reality is that, it's like one game played and one loss. We both predicted the W on Saturday night. And I think up until that New England Revolution goal late in the match, I think it was the 88th minute, something like that. Yeah. Until that goal happened, you still really thought that you could potentially sneak one out, steal one late, because we've seen at the Fortress, we've seen these late substitutions. Shinyashiki comes into the match, Vargas comes into the match, and all of a sudden you start to think about the back of the net bulging. And It's happened and in the past, and it didn't happen and at night. So the one thing I wanted to do,
they were both instant offense.
Underscore. Instant offense, both of those guys. But I want to underscore that the reason why this episode is aptly titled "Not Good Enough," because it's truly, for me, it was the only thing that I could really muster late last night as I'm sitting on my couch. The match is over, and I want to give some sort of commentary, but all I could really come up with was three words, and it was not good enough. That's three. So we're going to have a couple different things to talk about tonight, Danny. I think first and foremost, you've got the rewatch done, which is tremendous work by you.
I was on rewatch duty. It was Sunday night. Yeah.
So we're going to get your thoughts after the rewatch. We asked our tremendous friends of the show as well to hit us with some takeaways. Main takeaway from Saturday. And I wanted to make sure that I opened this up to not just on the field, off the field, on TV, Apple TV, Apple MLS Season Pass is officially live as we're both sitting here now. Seattle is 1-0 up on Colorado on their home debut as well. And we've got a ton of responses to that we'll share on the show, including one from at Life of Geslin, friend of the show, Matt Geslin, chimed in on this, who was critical as always of the club, but you know what? Yeah, I think it was fair play after last night.
The frenemy of Charlotte FC, you could call him for sure.
So the other thing we're going to do, and this is awesome for you, Danny Brams. One thing that we've done always is player ratings, and Danny Brams got us hooked up today with some SofaScore ratings. You're going to see them scroll across the bottom of the screen, and look at that. Some solid ratings, but there's one that really stands out to me, and it's Karol Swiderski at 6.6. Danny Brams. Let's just dive right into it. I've seen supporters play the blame game, calling it a hero ball, the giveaway that led to New England Revolution's goal. Take me through that moment. And on the rewatch, what did you see specifically?
I saw a team that was fighting. I saw a team that was fighting hard. I saw a team that wanted it as badly as we did. I think the players on this club, the players who are the heart and soul of this club, there was no lack of effort. There was no lack of desire to go out there and give the supporters what we craved so bad. And that's what made it even that much more painful. It's not like the club necessarily came out flat. It was more like they came out overcharged to the point of they couldn't really get anything done because everyone was trying to do it by themselves. Every single all 11 players felt like, I have to be the guy that goes out and wins this match. And that's the problem when you stop working together as a team. Branico played pretty well, but fouling constantly, just like constantly fouling Brant all over the field. I'm shocked he didn't get a yellow. And it's because he's just wants to do it so bad. And like Carroll, like running around and chasing after balls instead of letting them get to their intended receivers on passes and stuff like that. And like intercepting his own team passes and, you know, taking 1-on-2 dribbles and things like that. It's because he just wants to create something so bad. So not necessarily lack of effort, but it was a bit of a lack of ideas. I felt I saw a lot of that commentary post-match, and I agree with it. There was no real way to get the ball into dangerous areas regularly. There was a few, and then the few times we didn't cash in. And I got to say, poor home regular season debut for Enzo Capetti. We loved everything we saw from Enzo in the 2 preseason friendlies against, you know, lower division squads. And tonight or last night was absolutely 180 degrees away from that. Unfortunately, he got so I dubbed it the hat trick of complaints. He was spotted on camera vehemently complaining about a handball that he wanted, a foul that he wanted, and a corner kick that he wanted. He like harangued the ref over all 3 of those. So we call that the complaint hat trick for Enzo. Hopefully we'll see some actual goal scoring hat tricks in the near future, but I still have all faith in Enzo. But it was a bad game for him for sure. That didn't help our cause at all. He had really bad touch. Like, people are shitting on Gaines constantly all over the internet, which I get. He had a bad game as well. For him, you can see he's a 6.7. Carroll, Gaines, and Capetti, our front 3, were the lowest rated dudes on the Sofa Score rating.
Okay, and that's exactly what I was thinking about, and what I wanted to bring up to you is because I think most times we do these post-game shows, which, by the way, you'll be able to see on YouTube this year. No big deal. We're going to make sure that we get together after matches to share this content on YouTube.
If you want to see me drinking wine straight from the bottle, I mean, come on. That's the kind of stuff that makes Danny Brams a legend, I thought.
Every time, and I'm almost willing to guarantee this, but not necessarily, because I think there's some other players on the squad that are still very good. But, you know, in these post-game conversations, Danny, if we discuss how Kyle Swiderski didn't have a good match and how Enzo Capetti didn't have a good match, there's a very strong likelihood that Charlotte FC did not get the result that was desired, right? So exactly. I think early in the season, we have the ability to kind of underscore that these 2 players are the key to Charlotte FC. And I saw some conversation around there about how New England was able to take Swiderski out of the match. I heard some excuse making from Enzo Capetti after the match, to be honest with you, about the turf at Bank of America.
About the turf and the speed of the game. He also complained about
the
like
game because of the turf. He was talking about he was talking about the
it's
turf
all related
being the speed of the game. Exactly right. Yes, and just how things move quicker. So there's some excuse making happening, but ultimately, to me, there's one way that you can overcome, Danny, if your number 10 and your number 9 don't perform. You overcome that by playing on the wings.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't there last night on Saturday night, was it either?
No, you remember the ball I described from the preseason matches, that right side ball from Byrne over the top to Gaines that he runs down, like sends across in the box and like starts our whole offense that I was like gushing about in the preview episode. Completely. I saw it one time and it didn't lead to really anything. And it was almost non-existent really. But Gaines, like one time Gaines did have a promising attack in the middle of the first half and had like a really nice little dribble past a guy, slide a pass into Enzo. And Enzo took a horrible touch. It kicked like wildly off of Enzo's foot instead of him being able to draw it in. He had his back to goal, like right at the top of the box. And it's like, oh, that's where we want Enzo to get the ball at his feet and make a turn on somebody and make a play. He couldn't control it. So that was unfortunate. Maybe that's a fault. Maybe Gaines sent the pass in too hot. I don't know. But that same play, Carroll's off to the side screaming for a pass. And so it's just like, again, everybody wanted to do their own thing to be the hero that won this game for Anton, for the club. Like, I understand why it happened. You know, the emotional tribute material, everything before the match was like pretty on point. It was like the tone was right. And like, I was ready to go out there and win it for Anton myself as well. But everyone trying to do it all individually, they didn't work together as a team.
And that's what soccer's all about. You have to play as a group together, especially tactically. And I'm going to ask you the question: did Christian Latanzio get his starting 11 right? But first, before you answer that question, I think there's some comments that you've made since this result that there it's sending shockwaves across the Carolinas, and it's because it's about Kamil Jóźwiak. It's about his inability to cross the ball. It's his inability to make anything happen on that left wing, and it was a glaring omission from the match when you realize that Kerwin Vargas came in and did it pretty easily. That being said, he did have fresh legs.
Like Vargas instantly sent in a cross that someone got ahead to. It was not a shot on goal. The shot was off target, but Vargas created a shot within minutes from inside the box. A shot within minutes of coming on. Meanwhile, Kamil 0 crosses from the left wing his entire shift. 1 key pass, I think, and it's like I've just come to this conclusion. I'm really hyped about this. Maybe I'm crazy, and I'm sure anyone with a coaching background can probably tell me maybe why this couldn't happen, but I'm going to stick to it. I don't care because I think it's the right thing in my heart of hearts. What does everyone say when they're defending Kamil? We got many tifos out there who always love to get mad at me because I'm such a Kamil hater in their eyes and whatnot. I'm really not a hater, but what I realize now is I think he's been miscast, and all these folks who love to come to his defense and that wear Jóźwiak jerseys and whatnot to the parties and to the festivities. They always say, well, yeah, he hasn't really contributed on offense yet, but he's such a bulldog. He earned the nickname the Polish Bulldog. He's really good at getting stuck in on the tackles and tracking back from the wing to play defense, getting interceptions and the whatnot. And I think it finally opened my eyes to something that I think he should be the left back. He's not working on the left wing, but his defensive skills are there. He had 2 tackles. He won 3 out of 4 aerial duels, just fighting for headers in the air. And it's let's put him to the left back. We have a left back conundrum in terms of we don't really trust Mora there. He did start. Affel was the left back for the majority of the preseason, and I was surprised he didn't start. That's a whole other point we'll get to in a minute. But it's we have this left back selection dilemma, and we're not really loving either of our choices there. And anytime someone's talking about a transfer these days for Charlotte FC, ever since we brought in our big names over the summer, they're I hope we do one more move for a left back. That's what the hopers out there are hoping for. So let's move Kamil to the left back. That frees up the left wing for Vargas to start or Nuno Santos to start, and both of those guys are going to give you more offense than Kamil Jóźwiak's giving you. It's not. And you say, oh, well, you don't want a DP to be a left back. I mean, that's neither here nor there. The prevailing opinion is we're going to buy Kamil out of DP status at some point in the near future anyway. So, let's just start getting this guy some reps at left back and see what happens. He's known for being a bulldog and having a defensive prowess, and his offense is almost non-existent at this point. He had the nice tap-in goal from a beautiful Carroll cross against Legion, but against New England, he was almost invisible. He's a bulldog. I don't hate the guy. I just think he's horribly miscast positionally right now.
It's an interesting take, and it's something that for me, what's most important is about the age here, right? How he's 24 years old, right? So this type of transition for a guy like Kamil probably does happen in the next 5 years. As you get closer to 30, you kind of see yourself moving back towards that back line. You lose a little bit of speed.
Anyway, yeah.
Your career.
I think Fuchs was a winner. Fuchs was a winger for the Austrian national team as a young man before he, settled into a left back role.
Yeah, so I think that's a natural progression. I just think ultimately it's a really tough ask, for someone like Christian Latanzio to sit down with a player who likes to be on the front foot and likes to be on the wing and likes to play offense and say, hey, man, your career is now moving towards the back line. And I think for a lot of players, sometimes their ego takes a big hit from that, right? Where I'm not a left back. I need to be in the offensive third, and I need to be making things happen. That being said, I think that this transition, I think there's only one way Kamil is a Charlotte FC lifer, someone who plays here for a long time, is that, and I don't necessarily agree with you on this take. I think it's a smart conversation. I think it's a good take. I think ultimately over the next couple seasons, if Jóźwiak wants to make that change to the back line, I think that ultimately could potentially keep him here in Charlotte for 6-7 years, because you're going to buy him down. He's not performing well enough to go out there and be bought by somebody else. Like, this is basically it for him right now. And his performances on the field do not suggest in any way, shape, or form that he's going to go somewhere else. So Charlotte FC, I think in his heart of hearts, he needs to understand that this is his opportunity to play professional football at his highest level. We gave him the nickname Useless Viak, right? Go back. You can check the tape.
Oh yeah, and I wasn't more of a hater than I was, for sure. This
is not just a, hey, we're going to watch game one and trash somebody on the squad and say that he is not good enough. I'm telling you that his performances have not been good enough for over a year now. And we're also been telling you that Joseph Mora and his performances have not been good enough for over a year now. I think, to me, some of the most interesting commentary, and I think you in your rewatch, you talked about some individual moments that Joseph Mora had, which they were there. But I have to say, as someone that was watching him very closely, he was out of position every single time I looked at him. For some reason, he was just so interested in playing offense in that match. He wasn't even considering. Brant Bronico had to drop back and play in a left back position like 4 or 5 times in the first half, because all of a sudden Joseph Mora starts wandering up the pitch and he finds himself in the middle of the center circle and he's trying to make things happen. So if you think that Joseph Mora had a good game, it's probably for that reason. But guess what? That's not what his job is. His job is to be a reliable left back who doesn't get beat. We have zero interest whatsoever. I have zero interest. I'm not going to speak for you or any other fans, but I have zero interest in seeing Joseph Mora do anything on the front foot on the opponent's half of the field.
Yeah, I mean, he's not exactly Andy Robertson out there on the left side for sure. It's tough because he had the chance created. He had probably the best cross of the night into the box in terms of creating our highest XG shot that Westwood skied over the bar, unfortunately, in the first half. Westwood bags that chance. We're talking about probably an entirely different, and we're probably celebratory here at this point because I think it would have opened up the floodgates. Unfortunately,
it was a tough one. It was a tough half volley.
It was for sure. Yeah, it's not an easy finish. I'm not criticizing him. That was Mora's big offensive moment. He had a couple other crosses, and it may be tactical because it is kind of what we saw from whoever was, like, we saw it in the preseason, that left back kind of moving up into sort of playing almost off the left circle a little bit, like very inverted. That's the Latanzio thing. He brings his fullbacks inside for sure, but and then he had one great moment where he like tracked all the way back to like stop a breakaway. But how did that breakaway get started? It's because he was out of position, like you said. So I think both Mora and Tuiloma, who, welcome Big Bill to the club. We invented a little chant. At one point when we were still trying to get hyped up, it was still 0-0 in the second half. Me and our boy Brett and his brother Josh, we were up in the supporter section, which, by the way, we're all the way stuck up near the top of the stadium because some logistical problems with deciding who actually belongs in the supporter section. It was completely overstuffed, and stadium staff needs to do a better job there. But regardless, our chant was for the Ted Lasso fans in the house, is like, he's big, he's Bill, he's big, fucking Bill, big Bill, big Bill. And we loved it. We were having so much fun with the chant. But the problem was that Bill was getting himself a little out of position. He was even trying too hard, trying to make an impression on his new squad. And he had some nice tackles. And I think most people would tell you Tuiloma played a good game. He had a 7.1 ratings. You see scrolling below me. Malanda definitely was better. But Tuiloma ultimately was the last one to touch the ball before we conceded. He did attempted a sliding clearance that didn't achieve its desired result. And Kessler was there to pounce on it and slot it in. I just think the ultimate thing is what Mora and Tuiloma had good moments individually, and it's everyone that would look at what they did and say, oh, they played well. They weren't the problem. But what was the problem? They really shouldn't have been in there, because what Latanzio did, Laddie Daddy, was he messed with his chemistry from the preseason starting lineup. You had Affle starting left back every meaningful preseason game. You had Jones starting center back every meaningful preseason game. And then you drop those two for Mora and Tuiloma going, like, I just didn't, psychologically, that doesn't work for me. Confidence-wise, that doesn't work for me. And we don't know what's going on in training. Obviously, he saw something in training that made him make the decisions he did. But, like, and yes, Jones is not a natural center back, et cetera, et cetera. We know all this. But, like, Jones was playing pretty well in center back in the preseason. I don't think he was the one who was at fault. And I just think like you have this guy providing cover for you at a position. You spend the whole preseason trying to teach him the fundamentals of center back that he can play. And it's like, okay, I did it. I did everything you asked for me in the month of preseason camp, coach. You asked me to make a change. I've been studying. I've been working on all these new techniques that are different to the position I came up in. Let's get going for this opener. Oh, I'm on the bench. Someone else that we just signed came in and took my spot. It's just really weird. I don't think Jones's destiny lies at center back, but I think he put in the work this preseason camp to like at least earn the chance to start the first game of the season. Derek Jones has got it going on, but he did not on Saturday night, unfortunately, because he didn't get the chance to. And I just think Lattanzio got it wrong. And then a lot of people will complain about, like, I won't complain about the Gaines thing. I liked the lineup just because Gaines was in. Like, when I saw the starting 11, I was like, let's go Gaines 3 points. Haha, wordplay. Like, I was like, this is I believed in McKenzie starting. He had a bad game. But the other two changes, if I had looked a little deeper when I first looked into the 11, I would have been like, I don't necessarily like that on the principle matter of it. And it proved to probably, I think, throw things off.
It was a conservative approach, the 11, right? When you think about what it was experience there. He went with Joseph Mora. He went with Big Bill. He went with Nathan Byrne. And I'm not just talking about MLS experience. I'm talking about guys that have been around the block, right, who've played in other leagues, who've had a lot of soccer experience, who could potentially meet the occasion that was a home opener in front of 65,000 plus fans at the Keep, right? Westwood, obviously, right? He's into the lineup, but you know why he's wearing the captain's armband? Is because of his experience, right? And for me, it was just a unbelievably conservative side. And something that I've noticed as I've kind of looked around MLS this opening weekend is that there's a lot of young players getting a lot of shine across the league, especially one for New England, who Danny Brams, this is somebody that stood out to you as somebody that potentially could have bossed this match.
Yeah, this
somebody
kid
that had a huge impact.
This kid crushed us, man. Noel Buck, 17-year-old kid who just played in the New England defensive midfield and was constantly like getting forward and making stuff happen. I was like, it was crazy. I thought like it's just one match. I'm not going to overreact, but this kid played really well against us. Don't think he was intended to start. They went out and got Latif Blessing, an MLS veteran, to sort of be a potential starter for them this year. Looks like Buck earned the right to start this game in their camp over Blessing and a couple other guys. And so Buck went in, created some good chances. We almost conceded. Buck served like this beautiful cross earlier in the second half before we actually did concede a goal to Henry Kessler, who never should be scoring a goal ever against anyone. The guy's a center back, and he's like living in our box and scored the game-winning goal against us, unfortunately. But earlier on a play, like a sort of a secondary re-counter attack off of a failed set piece, Buck served this like gorgeous cross into Kessler that went off the crossbar. That would have, even if it had been, it was extremely powerful. No way Pablo could have saved that one if it hadn't gone off the crossbar. So it was a squad. We got a lot. Like we basically kind of just like spent ourselves and shot our load, like with all these like frustratingly incomplete, premature attacks in the first half. And then like by about the 60-minute mark, our guys just started dragging a little bit. New England grew into the game. All of a sudden they're the ones that are starting getting chances, and their defensive midfield is pushing up, and their wingers, Brandon By and DeJuan Jones, started making stuff happen. And it's crazy because we pretty much, for the most part, neutralized Carlos Heel. I mean, he did his thing. He had one, I think he had one chance created. If I look, I'd have to double check his stats, but it's not like Heel really killed us. He ended up with a good rating. He did have 3 chances created, so forgive me there, but sent a lot of crosses. Not all those were great chances. So for someone like Heel, who we're so worried about, we kept him under control, but unfortunately we couldn't. It was the unknown quantity. It was the 17-year-old coming in, making, I think, his league debut. I'm not sure, but he crushed us, and then we lose to a center back goal off a play where Carroll once again was trying too hard. 88th minute, if you look at it, and Swiderski like basically like trying to sort of, he's trying to clear it. We were playing in our own defensive third. If everyone that saw it, but he tried to clear the ball, ended up kicking it out to the wing into a group of 4 New England defenders, and we had like one guy there. I think it was Vargas, if I remember right, who was like trying to find a way to receive this pass in the middle 4 guys. Instead, it's cut off by Noah Buck, who immediately sends it back into the box. Tuiloma tries to clear, unfortunately not successful, and Kessler's waiting there for the rebound. New England just won it. Like you said, like as we go into the last 10 minutes of a 0-0 game, and it's like, okay, we believe we can, our subs have come in, we believe we can go do this and go get a win. Instead, it was actually New England who started pressing harder, and they turned up their energy and effort in the last 10 minutes. And our guys, we had a chance created. Vargas off the post moments after they scored. We almost made it 1-1. Again, the guys never gave up. The guys weren't flat. They were just ineffective.
It's a tough pill to swallow when I take a look at this squad and think about who did impress me last Saturday night at Bank of America Stadium. Like, I would say it's Ashley Westwood, just because his leadership ability, his qualities. That was the right move to start him there. Thinking back to last season and what was really kind of missing in that central midfield, I think Ashley Westwood really fills that hole. But other than that, I left just completely disappointed with most everybody on the squad, especially the manager for picking Bill Tuiloma in this match. I thought it was a major mistake. I thought he was learning how to play with his teammates on the biggest stage of the season, which is, to me, just an absolutely critical error at a position like center back. I think if push comes to shove, if you ask me why Lattanzio made that decision, I don't know. I'd be happy to ask him sometime. But I also believe that it's because it was the easy decision, right? He's got a center back who's got a lot of years experience in MLS. Yeah, let's just plug and play him. Let's put him in there. He'll get the job done. He'll do what's required at that position. And he did in probably the most boring fashion that I've ever seen. I mean, he was just lumbering around, picking out passes, not hitting any adventurous balls over the top, just really playing boring football, something that we know Derek Jones does not do. Derek Jones is someone who's comfortable having the ball at his feet, who's looking for an extra pass, who's looking forward to maybe getting up into the box, we talked about, and we emphasized the fact that Bill Tuiloma scored 6 goals in MLS last year.
And he had one wicked shot. He had one wicked shot that went just a couple yards, a couple feet really to the left of the goal, probably covered by Petkovic. It probably was not going to sneak past the goalkeeper, but it was a firecracker from outside the box. He did bring it that one time, but it just was not enough.
So ultimately, my main takeaway, and I want to get into some of our TIFO's main takeaways. My main takeaway is that Christian Lattanzio got it wrong. If you heard what I said at the back end of last week's podcast, if you heard me on Thursday night at Elizabeth Parlor Room, go back to that last 10 minutes of the show, and you'll see exactly how I feel, and you'll know how I feel. Ultimately, this is
I can feel how you feel. I can feel how you feel right now. Sitting in Indianapolis, I can just see how peeved you are coming through the microphone.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's a big moment for everybody at the club, and it just felt like we had it wrong, and I think the outcome, and unfortunately that outcome is scoring no goals. It's the second year in a row. That's over 70,000 people last year, 65,000 people this year. Let's do the quick math. We're talking about 135,000 people that didn't see Charlotte FC score a goal in 180 minutes.
Right.
And once again, let me just underscore that's just not good enough. We asked this question to our tremendous friends of the show. Shout out to you at For the Crown Baby. You can interact with us there always. The question that was asked, we said, hey, we're sitting down to record a podcast. What's your main takeaway from Saturday? On the field, off the field, on TV, anything goes. I mentioned friend of the show, Matt Geslin. He chimed in. He said, shows that the preseason is useless. Team got caught up in the pace and fitness of another MLS team and didn't cope well. Something that can be resolved, but eye-opener for sure. I think cutting through the bullshit, he's right.
Sure.
He's absolutely right.
And
it's one of those hard truths that you can play against Birmingham. You can play against Charleston. But then when you do play an experienced MLS side, by the way, coached by one of the best coaches in the league, who I called Reyna last week's show. Don't know why. Bruce Arena.
I thought you said arena. I thought you were saying arena. yeah. That's I gave you grace on that one because I thought you were saying arena. But yeah.
I appreciate that. So that's a good one. Michael Volak, he tweeted in. He said, "Thought we played a solid match until we conceded on the Swiderski errant pass. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking at Kyle Swiderski in a critical way here, and my takeaway from that moment was it was a ball that should have been cleared, not a ball that should have been trying to thread the needle, if that made sense. At that point in the match,
just clear.
Bang it back out to the halfway line.
Just boot it out of bounds.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Had some opportunities that we didn't finish. Follow-up question here. What changes, if any, would you make versus St. Louis City Soccer Club or whatever the hell they're called?
Wanderers.
Changes,
man, I don't know. So like, how do you go back, right? Now do you go start Jones and Affle and admit like we got to start over from square one? Probably because I think Jones is the one who deserves to be there. But now Tuloma's had 90 more minutes of real soccer with these new teammates that he's maybe a little more adapted. So maybe the case is there to start him again. It's tough. I would say let's go back, even though I've been the biggest advocate for starting Mackenzie Gaines, I'll eat the L on that one and say, let's start Vargas out there. Again, if you want us to change I would say put Camille Yusufiak to left back starting this week and just let's make it happen and like get Nuno Santos on the pitch. Like, where's Nuno Santos when you need a goal in the last 10 minutes? Like it's great. I'd love to see Vargas and Shinyashiki come on. Maybe Santos comes on for Bronico at that point just as an offensive sub. I wouldn't have wanted to take Carroll out necessarily, although he did make the error. So it's a tough call. I think Vargas should start probably over Gaines because I think he's slightly better on the right, even though he was fine on the left too. And it's tough. If it's my heart, I keep Gaines in and bench Yusufiak. If it's my head, I probably bench Gaines and keep Camille out there. But Vargas needs to start, I guess. Let's just say that because he creates offense.
Shout out to Sean Swaim at Sean7656 on Twitter.
The artist.
For checking in as well. Yeah. By the way, we're here on YouTube. You can see this secondary show logo that we have here. That was a Sean Swaim production. So thank you, Sean, for hooking us up with these sick graphics and continue the great work. He chimed in, Danny. He said, I saw a lot of promise despite the results, but a lot of crosses went unanswered. I'm not sure if this new formation is the best use of our new squad. Do you think we will adjust next week or stay the course?
I think stay the course. You don't change the entire formation just based on one bad result, but you could change one player's position based on a year of mediocre results.
Mike Humberger chimes in. Danny says the best part of soccer is and always will be the fan culture and fellowship. I won't mince words. Right. The match sucked, but it was really nice seeing my soccer family gathered again. Cheers to that. That's a good one. Is any other ones that popped out or stood out to you? Any responses here, Danny, that you want to recognize before we get out of here tonight?
Shout out to a lot of the people we saw. Shout out to my boy Amadio. Amadio is a Charlotte FC fan who goes to school in Ohio, coming in home for the Atlanta match. So we're looking forward to seeing him and meeting him. Jorge Torres, another tremendous friend of the show, says, sir, he's addressing Laddie Latanzio, says, sir, there's a thing called substitutes. Using them would be nice. I've seen a lot of criticism of that. Bridget McCall from the Queen's Pitch podcast also was like, she's pretty much coined the term laddie daddy. And she was pretty upset with her father figure there for not using effective use of the substitutes and things like that. I mean, Shinny and Vargas did come in and have effective results. I guess they didn't create any goals, but they did create some offense. But I would like to see Nuno Santos. Get Nuno in there. I'll reiterate it. I'll hammer it home one more time. Jonathan Wilson says, you two are crushing the game. Looking forward to catching up in the parlor room. Come on by. Swing on by anytime. We're there. First watch party of the season kicks off this Saturday. Look forward to getting as many people as want to come see. If the folks we know, the TIFOs who have come out to check out the parlor room for the first time based on a recommendation, have all had really good things to say, which I love. But yeah, the overriding sentiment seems to be more Vargas, more Enzo from all of our tifos. That's what they want to see, and I tend to agree.
It's the Charlotte Soccer Show. I'm John Hayes. He's Danny Brams. It's been a good a therapy session, maybe. One thing, I work in the podcast business. Danny, you're in the television business. I will say one thing about podcasting is that, especially when you're doing team specific stuff like the Charlotte Soccer Show, where we're talking about Charlotte FC, people love listening to podcasts when their team wins. So for those of you who have made it to the show, whenever you're listening, we appreciate you being here, and we hope that you make it to Elizabeth Parlor Room. It's our first watch party of the 2023 season. We're going to be there. Match kicks at 8:30 Eastern time on Saturday night, so it's going to be a vibe in there for sure. It's going to be a big match that we're going to preview on our weekly preview podcast that will drop on Thursday night as well, previewing that game coming up Saturday. Excited to talk about it because in my wildest dreams, I did not imagine that it would be St. Louis with the 3 points already in the bag in this match. I thought that script would have been flipped, and I was just blown away by St. Louis's ability to go down to Austin and get that win in that inaugural match, something that Charlotte FC couldn't do.
Helped dramatically by St. Louis born and bred center back for Austin FC, Kip Keller, who had some of the most horrendous errors led to goal and errors led to shooting performances I've ever seen. If you watch the highlights of Austin and St. Louis, just keep an eye on number 4 in green. He had a howler after howler of a match. The poor kid. He was a pretty high draft pick for Austin last year, I think. But he'll have better days. But yeah, St. Louis is going to present a challenge. I want to know from you real quick before we get out here, what's it like, having a schedule? Like last year, we were a little bit more haphazard with the pod. We kind of snuck it. Sometimes we do a Tuesday, sometimes we do a Wednesday. You never know. This year we're doing Thursday recording sessions at the Parlor Room in Elizabeth. We're doing Saturday road game watch parties. We're doing Sunday YouTube reacts, get-togethers. Like, does it feel like we're growing, like a little more responsible, a little more adult in our second year here on the show?
Oh, it feels like we're setting expectations for the tremendous friends of the show, for the listeners. I like having the schedule. I like knowing what we're doing every single week. I like that people can come to expect something from us as well. I do like that. But I've got to say, and this came up last Saturday night when we were at the supporters bar in the stadium, which another thing that my main takeaway was how great it was to see everybody.
Oh, it was like, like everyone kept walking up. Like every 5 minutes, another person that we had not seen in a few months came up to say hi and give a hug or a handshake, and that was awesome. It was a reunited feeling for sure. Like met Alex Ventura, one of the OG tifos. Like met his wife for the first time, Lauren, and she was amazing. She like Alex, such a mild mannered, like very like overly like super friendly guy, and you just think like this guy's a puppy dog. His wife was a freaking pit bull. She was amazing. Fat, swore like a sailor, and had a joke about everything. I had a tremendous time meeting her. Great couple for sure.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah, an absolute blast. And but I think ultimately, yeah, we're going to do most of our episodes at Elizabeth Parlor Room. But just like a band would go on a summer tour, Danny Brams, this summer we're going on tour. We're gonna hit up some breweries for sure. Charlotte Soccer Show will be back on tour. There's no doubt about that. But right now we've got it's like Vegas, when you sign up with one of the casinos in Vegas.
Yeah, we got a residency. Exactly.
Right now we've got a residency, but we're heading back on tour this summer. Right. There's no doubt about that. So in the meantime, I hope everybody has a great week. Cheers to you, Danny Brams. Cheers to the MLS season being back. Cheers to Apple, who, by the way, has done a fantastic job with MLS. And I've got nothing but positive experience and positive things to say about the way that Apple and MLS is treating this partnership. To me, it feels like the logical next step for this league, and it's a next step that screams professionalism, right? And yeah, it's a professional soccer league. It's always been, but at ESPN, the games were sometimes not produced at the highest quality. At Fox, sometimes games were not produced at the highest quality. Apple said, you know what? We're going to buy this rights holder agreement, and we're going to guarantee you that we've got all the good cameras at all the games, and you're going to watch these games and you're going to be able to see it in beautiful, clear picture HD. And this Seattle Colorado game that I'm watching on my tablet right here next to us, Danny, as we're doing this show, it's freaking gorgeous.
It's crystal clear. Yeah.
Gorgeous.
It's 1080 all the way. And
the only thing that doesn't look good, and by the way, Seattle just went up 3-0 to start the second half.
Bear with the third goal, the new import, the Rui Diaz replacement, trying to get rid of that little injured Peruvian, replace his goal scoring production. Good for him.
The only thing that doesn't look good is the turf. Got to get the turf up. Got to get the grass out there, Seattle. Come on. Yeah, I thought that was good grass growing. They love grass in Seattle, don't they?
It's legal up there. Yeah. You know, what can I say? Tough call, man. I think Enzo Copetti, don't like to hear the excuses on a night where he could have been better, but he didn't say anything wrong either. The turf sucks. This podcast is a longtime anti-turf pod, and I'll say it anytime this topic comes up. I just think Dave, Dave, my guy. We shared that fist bump last year, and I was trying to telepathically say, like, transmit the message through the power of fist-to-fist contact. Tear up this turf and put some freaking grass in. Come on, you did it for Chelsea. Do it for Charlotte FC.
Charlotte Soccer Show. I'm John Hayes. He's Danny Brams. We're going to be back later this week. Until then, hit us up at For the Crown Baby. The show goes on, Danny Brams. On to the next one.
The show's just getting started. We're on to St. Louis. We are on to St. Louis, baby.
Until next time, as always,
For the Crown, baby.